The pen trembled in Eliza's hand as tears blurred the signature line. Around her, the office Christmas party continued in full swing, laughter, clinking glasses, and Mariah Carey's voice declaring what she wanted for Christmas. No one noticed the woman in the corner booth quietly falling apart as she signed away 7 years of her life. No one knew that tomorrow, headlines would splash across financial news outlets: tech mogul James Harrington's secret wife files for divorce. If you're captivated by stories of hidden lives and emotional journeys, hit that like button and subscribe to see more content that explores the complex reality behind seemingly perfect lives. Eliza Matthews had always been invisible. Even as the wife of one of the country's most elusive billionaires, she lived in shadows. Their arrangement had been clear from the beginning: absolute privacy, separate public lives, a marriage that existed primarily on paper and behind the closed doors of remote estates. For 7 years, she had been the secret Mrs. Harrington, bound by NDAs and the golden handcuffs of a life most could only dream of. She folded the papers carefully, sliding them into an envelope addressed to her lawyer. The Christmas party at the publishing house where she worked under her maiden name seemed the perfect cover. No one would question her tears here. They'd assume holiday sentimentality, perhaps too much eggnog. Her colleagues knew her as Eliza Matthews, junior editor, not as the woman whose signature could authorize transactions worth millions. "More punch, Eliza?" asked Tom from marketing, his Santa hat tilted at a jaunty angle. "No, thank you," she replied, quickly wiping her eyes. "Just feeling a bit emotional. Christmas, you know." Tom nodded sympathetically before being pulled away by the office manager's announcement of the gift exchange. Eliza used the distraction to slip the envelope into her purse. 7 years of secrets were about to end, and she felt simultaneously hollow and weightless. She had met James Harrington at a literary fundraiser. She was 26, passionate about books and working her way up in publishing. He was 38, already a tech industry giant who valued his privacy above all else. Their connection had been immediate and intense, intellectual first, then everything else. When he proposed 6 months later, it came with conditions: their marriage would remain private, her career would continue independently, and she would sign a prenuptial agreement that was fair but protected his empire. "I need someone who wants me, not what I represent," he had explained. "This way, we know it's real." At the time, it had seemed romantic, their love, their secret. She had her own apartment in the city where she lived during the work week. Weekends and holidays were spent at his secluded estate or traveling to places where they wouldn't be recognized. She wore her wedding ring on a chain beneath her clothes, removing it only when they were alone together. For 3 years, it worked beautifully. They were partners, equals in their private world. James respected her independence, her refusal to simply become an extension of his wealth. Eliza loved that he saw her, truly saw her, when the rest of the world had always looked past her. The change began gradually. More cancelled weekends. Shorter phone calls. His empire expanded internationally, requiring constant travel. The secret that had once felt intimate began to feel like erasure. When they were together, his phone never stopped buzzing. The man who had once spent hours discussing literature with her now seemed perpetually distracted. Just 1 more year of this intensity, he would promise. Then we'll reassess. But 1 year became 2, then 3. Eliza found herself living more in her city apartment than their shared homes. Her colleagues became her primary social circle, though none knew the truth about her marriage. The secrecy that had once felt special now felt like a prison. She was neither fully married nor truly single, existing in a liminal space of her own making. The breaking point came 3 months ago. A pregnancy scare had forced her to confront what their life had become. When she called James with the news, false alarm as it turned out, his first concern had been about confidentiality. "You didn't tell anyone, did you? You didn't use our insurance? Not, are you okay? Not, how do you feel about this?" Just concern about their secret being exposed. That night, alone in her apartment, Eliza had finally admitted to herself that their marriage existed now only in legal documents. The love remained, but it had been suffocated by absence and secrecy. She had become a ghost in her own life. The divorce papers had arrived from her lawyer yesterday. The timing, Christmas Eve, seemed cruelly poetic. She had called James to tell him they were coming, and for the first time in months, he had answered immediately. "I understand," he had said after a long silence. "I've felt it too. I just didn't know how to fix it." There had been no arguments, no accusations. Just quiet acknowledgement of what they both already knew. The prenup would be honored. She would receive a settlement that would make her independently wealthy, though nowhere near his billions. She had insisted on less than she was entitled to, wanting to be free more than she wanted to be rich. Now, watching her colleagues exchange gifts and take selfies by the office Christmas tree, Eliza felt a strange sense of peace settling over her grief. Tomorrow, she would mail the papers. In 6 weeks, according to her lawyer, the divorce would be finalized. By Valentine's Day, she would no longer be anyone's secret wife. Speech. Speech, someone called out, and Eliza realized with horror that they were looking at her. Her boss, Martin, was gesturing her forward. As you all know, Eliza has been with us for 5 years now, Martin announced. And I'm thrilled to share that her work on the Henderson manuscript has earned her a promotion to senior editor, effective January 1st. Applause erupted around her. Colleagues she had kept at arm's length for years were smiling, genuinely happy for her success. This was her real life, the one she had built herself, brick by brick, while her marriage crumbled in the background. Somehow, she found herself at the front of the room, accepting congratulations and making a brief, heartfelt speech about her love for their work. No one seemed to notice her red-rimmed eyes or the slight shake in her voice. They saw only Eliza Matthews, dedicated editor, finally getting her due. Later, as the party wound down, she found herself alone with Martin, helping to clean up. You know, he said, gathering empty cups, I've always admired how focused you are. Most people your age are constantly distracted by relationships, social media, the whole life performance thing. But you just do the work, and brilliantly. Eliza smiled, the irony not lost on her. I guess I've always believed that what matters is what you build, not what people see. Well, what you've built here is impressive. The new position comes with a substantial raise, by the way. Might be time to upgrade from that tiny apartment you're always complaining about. She thought about the settlement that would soon be hers. About the freedom to live anywhere, do anything. For 7 years, she had compartmentalized her life, Eliza the editor separate from Eliza the secret wife. Now, she could finally be whole. Actually, she said, surprising herself, I think I might travel for a while. See the world on my own terms. Midlife crisis already? Martin joked. You're barely 33. Not a crisis. A beginning. That night, after the party, Eliza didn't return to her small apartment. Instead, she took a taxi to the private airfield where James kept his jet. He was waiting for her, as she had known he would be. They sat across from each other in the luxurious cabin, the envelope containing the signed papers between them on the table. I never meant for it to be like this, James said finally. I thought I was protecting you. From what? From all of it. The scrutiny. The people who would use you to get to me. The loss of normalcy. Eliza looked at the man she had loved for 7 years, still handsome, still brilliant, still fundamentally unable to understand what she had needed. I didn't need protection, James. I needed partnership. I needed to exist in your world, not orbit around it. He nodded slowly. I realize that now. Too late, I suppose. Yes. They sat in silence for a long moment, 7 years of love and mistakes hanging between them. What will you do now? He asked finally. Live, she said simply. Openly, honestly. I might travel. I might write that book I've always talked about. I might fall in love again someday, with someone who wants to share a life, not just visits. James looked down at the envelope. The settlement is more than generous, she interrupted. I'm not interested in a legal battle or headlines. I just want to move forward. You could have taken half, you know. The prenup had a sunset clause that kicked in last year. Your lawyer must have told you. Eliza smiled sadly. I know. But I don't want half of your life, James. I want all of mine. When she left the plane an hour later, something had shifted inside her. The tears had dried. The grief remained, but alongside it grew something new, anticipation. For the first time in 7 years, her future belonged entirely to her. 6 months later, Eliza sat on the terrace of a small villa in the south of France, putting the finishing touches on her manuscript. The book, a novel about a woman finding herself after years of invisibility, had flowed out of her almost effortlessly. Her former colleagues at the publishing house didn't know she had written it. She had submitted it under a pseudonym, wanting it to succeed or fail on its own merits. Her phone buzzed with a text from her agent. They're offering a 3-book deal. Call me. Eliza smiled, looking out over the Mediterranean. The divorce had been finalized months ago, with minimal media attention. James had respected her wishes for privacy during the process. The settlement had given her freedom, but it was her own talent that was now building her future. She had learned that invisibility was sometimes a choice. That wealth could be measured in more than dollars. That endings were often disguised beginnings. As the sun set over the water, Eliza Matthews, no longer anyone's secret, no longer hiding any part of herself, picked up her phone to call her agent. The woman who had signed divorce papers in tears at a Christmas party had disappeared. In her place stood someone new, visible, whole, and finally, completely free.